Is the Roman Catholic Church truly the first church, as Amla claims?
That the only church that existed was Roman Catholic.
Okay, no problem.
Yes or no?
Let's do that.
Yes or no? Yes or no?
What you mean at the
Council, there's Chalcedon, there's the Council of Ephesus, there's too many councils. I'm saying all of those councils together were under a specific denominational institution, which was that existed at that time. At that time, the only church that existed was the Universal Catholic Church.
Yes.
Now, when you're saying church fathers, these are Catholic church fathers.
Many Catholics argue that their church, Roman Catholic Church, is the one in the Holy Church, originally founded by Jesus Christ himself, Peter, as the first pope. But is this historically and biblically accurate? So, I recently collaborated with brothers in the Lord, with Brother Ricky, Brother Lwandiso, Pastor Lwandiso, and Pastor Gift as well, and myself included. So now, let me refine what I said. But first, let's quickly explain what Roman Catholics believe in this regard. The Roman Catholics, or the Roman Catholic Church, believes that in this concept, not in the rest of their other beliefs, they believe that Peter was the first pope. They believe that the Roman Catholic Church is the one true holy church established by Jesus Christ. They believe that authority is passed down from an unbroken line of popes from Apostle Peter. Just to mention a few. We'll stop it right there, right? But I have a different viewpoint onto this, and let's approach it in a different manner. Now, if Amlak and the Roman Catholics believe that the Roman Catholic Church is the original church, let's see if the Bible supports it. We're going to do this by approaching it in this manner. What is church biblically? What I will tell you is what church is not. Church is not a hierarchical system or a structural building. Matter of fact, the Bible explains church as a body of believers united in one spirit through faith in Jesus Christ, both universal and local. You see that in 1 Corinthians. Church, we can see it as a bride of Christ. Also, it is the temple of the Holy Spirit. Church is believers called out of the world into God's kingdom. Basically, church is a body of believers united in one spirit through faith in Jesus Christ. Look at the example that I'll be giving you to show what is church, or give an example of this in the Bible. After Jesus' ascension, the apostles preached the gospel as commanded by Jesus Christ chronologically, or in a chronological manner, to various communities. First, they began in Jerusalem, in Judea, in Samaria, and to the rest of the world. Acts 1:8 tells us on that. And wherever they preached, some people accepted and some did not. And those who believed, they formed groups of believers in those various communities. These groups were called churches, local communities of faith, not centralized institutions. So, after these groups, or these believers would accept as groups of believers in formed various communities, the apostles would then appoint elders and deacons as overseers for care, or to care for such groups and believers in those different areas. The early Christian centers included Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, Antioch, Syria, Cilicia, not yet Rome. And so, from the establishment of the Christian faith, believers faced persecution for almost about 300 years. Irregardless of the persecution, there were internal issues that arose within the believers, such as whether should Gentiles or the Christian Gentiles follow the Mosaic law or not, especially on the concept of circumcision. And we see the first council in Jerusalem in the book of Acts chapter 15, primarily according to the chronological manner of how Jesus Christ directed the apostles to preach the gospel, first in Jerusalem, of which this makes Jerusalem the birthplace of Christianity. Safe to say that Jerusalem is the headquarters of Christianity. This is where the first council in Christian history takes place. But this council is involved with all the apostles, the church elders, the whole church, and the Holy Spirit. And keep in mind, a church is a group of believers that are already formed in Jerusalem, making them a church in Jerusalem, and the roles such as elders are already appointed and given to them. And also, the Holy Spirit was involved on this one. And so now, it goes as you read Acts. James, the brother of Jesus Christ, makes a suggestion, and all the apostles and the elders and the whole church in verse 22 of Acts 15 are in favor of it, and the final decision is made from James' suggestion, not Petros. On top of that, the Holy Spirit was in favor of this towards the Gentiles. This was the first major church decision from a council, yet not disregarding Peter, but he had no supreme authority. And let me say this. At this time, At the time of the Jerusalem Council in Acts 15, neither Peter nor Paul had yet been to Rome. And already, in me saying that, I have to add this point because it's very crucial on this aspect. That with Peter, there is no clear evidence that Peter had visited Rome by the time of the Jerusalem Council in Acts 15, which it was around 48 to 50 AD, right? In fact, Peter's ministry was primarily in Jerusalem at the whole concept and the whole time of that. And so if we're going to adulterate it along with the Roman Catholic Church's perversions, adulteration of this concept, then we're going to have to say that actually the first pope, as Peter in his line, has to be in Jerusalem. And that means we have to follow of the next pope or the next church father in Jerusalem to say that this is the church or the foundation that was claimed upon that Peter has to be on. Matter of fact, Paul, in this case, Paul had not yet visited Rome as well in this period of time during the Jerusalem Council. After these conversations, Paul spent some time in Arabia, as Galatians 1:17 says that, and he returned to Damascus, and before eventually traveling to Jerusalem to meet with Peter and James. So I just had to add that. That is just the information that I've gotten right now, and I didn't want it to slide. So we're gonna continue on this one, but just to say that both of them had not visited Rome, but yet we see them. And if there's church already in their surrounding, that was in Jerusalem, not Rome. And already we see the first evidence of church. We see the first evidence of apostles and the church elders being equally under one concept. The first major church council had nothing to do with Rome or the papacy. No one was greater than the other. The council decision was made collectively. No single apostle had supreme authority on this. And I know, as they've done it before, many Catholics will rush to Matthew 16:18 without understanding the context. On this rock, I will build my church. Catholics interpret this as Peter being the foundation of the church. We just saw church in Jerusalem. One or two views to look at this. The rock refers to Peter's confession of faith in Matthew 16:16, meaning Christ is the foundation of the church, as Ephesians 2:20 says so. Another viewpoint, you can look at this and say that the rock, which is in Greek is Petra, could symbolize the unity of believers. 1 Peter 2:5 calls believers a living stone who are built in a spiritual house. In verse 8, it calls Jesus Christ the rock whom unbelievers reject and stumble over. The same Greek word Petra is used also in verse 8. And this aligns with the context of the interpretation of Matthew 16:18, where Jesus is the true foundation of the church, not Peter. And the connection with Isaiah 8:14 reinforces that Jesus is both the cornerstone for believers and a stumbling stone for the unbelievers. This refutes the Catholic claim that Peter is a singular foundation of the church. Instead, Jesus Christ himself is the rock upon which the body of believers united in one spirit through faith in Jesus Christ, who are in Africa, Asia, Europe, and all the rest of the world, stand upon. So, I think I need to take a sip from saying that. Now, one of the Roman Catholic beliefs is that the Pope has supreme authority over all the Christians, tracing it back to Peter in their claim. However, historical records contradict this idea. On the collaboration video that I made with the brothers in the Lord, I stated that Pope Leo I was the one who strongly pushed this agenda and mostly was successful. Now, before Leo I, there were like 12 bishops or 12 popes in Rome who never claimed a papal supremacy before, like the likes of Victor I at that time. And at that time, the early Christianity followed a collegial leadership model of which Rome was influential, but not supreme. One of the Roman Catholic popes, Pope Victor I, was the first bishop to attempt Roman authority over the churches. But he faced resistance. And that's why I didn't mention him. And I jumped straight to Leo. The reason I jumped to Leo I was because he was the one who brought about the full emergence of the Papal Supremacy, right? Leo I. And safely we can say that with him it was successful because the other two, Victor and Stephen I, received rejection or resistance in that aspect by the other church fathers, right? Now, let's talk on the church fathers. The early church fathers in various areas other than Rome rejected papal supremacy. I mean, the likes of Cyprian of Carthage rejected the idea of one bishop ruling over. he stood firmly and strongly defended the collegial nature of bishops, arguing that all bishops held equal authority. In his dispute with Pope Stephen I over the rebaptism of heretics, Cyprian refused to submit to Pope's decision, saying in Epistle 52 of 21, no one among us sets himself up as a bishop of bishops. We have Timlin of Caesarea, right? He harshly criticized Pope Stephen I and denied his authority over other bishops. Regarding Rome's claim to authority, Timlin wrote, "How great is your error, in that you so stubbornly separate yourself from so many of your brethren, and in your blindness prefer to adopt foreign customs instead of the unity of the church." That was from Epistle 74 of 6. He saw the Roman bishop as one among many, not superior. Saint Augustine of Hippo, he taught that councils, not the Pope, held the final authority in doctrinal matters. He upheld the authority of the universal church rather than the Roman Catholic Church alone. His famous quote, which is mostly misused or misquoted by most Catholics also, which says that Rome has spoken, the case is closed. This statement was about the Pelagian heresy, but it was based on the council's decision, not just the Pope. Now, I'm adding to another one as well. There's a lot to emphasize on this. Now, Saint Ignatious of Antioch was one of the earliest Christian writers who wrote on this, and one of his letters show us a valuable insight within the Christian formulation of this concept. Now, when Ignatius referred to the Catholic Church, he meant a universal church comprising of believers from various regions and communities. Now, we have to understand that the term Catholic means universal, or you can say general as well. Now, what he meant with this in context was he meant a body of believers united in faith, or united in one spirit through faith in Jesus Christ from various parts of the world and so on. So one of those letters that he wrote was, he said that, now in one of his letters it reads, "Wherever the bishop appears, there let the people be, as wherever Christ is, there is the Catholic Church, there is the universal body of believers together, not Roman Catholic Church." He did not mean Roman Catholic Church. And also, the Nicene Creed states that we believe in one holy Catholic Church and the Apostolic Church. The word Catholic in this aspect, in context, it still means the universal church, or say the general church. It still emphasizes the unity of believers in one spirit through faith in Jesus Christ. It does not mean the Roman Catholic Church. And already that's how church fathers in the early times within Christianity, they saw what church was. Church was not the Roman Catholic Church. That was not the first church. It came afterwards. That means it came as a form of in that aspect, but it was not the first holy church. It was not. In my conclusion, saying this out of love, the church is not a hierarchical institution. Church is a body of believers. The first church were formed organically through faith in Jesus Christ, not through Rome. The first church council, which is in Acts 15 as an example, which was in Jerusalem, not in Rome. Peter did not hold a supreme authority. The doctrine of papal supremacy developed centuries later, not in the time of the apostles. Concluding me to say that the claim that the Roman Catholic Church is the original and the first church with supreme authority is historically and biblically false. Peace.